Testing 1, 2.
Welcome to the American Nomad Podcast, hosted by the legend himself, or as I refer to him, the legend in his own mind, Rav Holly.
What is up, everybody? Hopefully we got some volume here. I've been gaming, so hopefully I haven't screwed up my mixer. Can anybody hear me? We are on the big camera over here. And evidently I just muted the music somehow. What the heck did I do? Can anybody hear me? Looks like we're going to go into the start screen. I don't know what happened there with the music. Running late today. The day just got away from me. And the camera was not working. There we go. Should be coming on any second now. Hopefully. There we go. And I'm struggling to get it together today. Goodness. Yeah, one of those days. Hey, Matilda. Awesome. Good to hear the sound's working. I barely got in here. I had to run get something to eat before the place closed. It closed at 7, so I was over there like 15 minutes till the show started. So just running a little behind today. Was talking to my friends. It's their wedding anniversary, and I shot their wedding, and so they were at the location. They were at the location that I shot the wedding, basically just rehashing their wedding from a few years ago. 4 years ago now, I guess. Gosh, time goes by so quick. And the place actually comped them. They went for dinner, and the place actually comped them their whole meal, which was pretty amazing, I thought. Anyway, welcome to the Friday show, September 25th. I am Rav Holly, the American Nomad. Welcome to the American Nomad Podcast. Today's show topics we're going to be talking about, first and foremost, this just kind of popped up. It is going to, we're going to be talking about the mom up in Ohio at a high school football game. She gets tased and arrested for not wearing a mask. That's the dystopian. That's a dystopian universe that we're living in. It seems like today. Man, I got this freaking. So if you see over, I have fixed that last week, and I guess I screwed it up again. So there's a chat box over that's supposed to be working. I've been working on this, trying to figure it out, because I figured out what's going on is I have 3 different channels. I have a Twitch channel, a YouTube channel, and a Facebook channel that I stream on. So I've gotten my screens mixed up. So sometimes I'm supposed to be on a Facebook stream, and I'm on the YouTube one, and it ends up screwing stuff up. So let me see if I can fix this chat box really quick. I just fixed it the other day. And now I can still see it. So if you see that dark box over to the side there, that is actually a chat box. And it's supposed to, I just turned it off. It's actually supposed to show the chat in the room. But for some reason, no matter what I do, I can't get it working. But I'm supposed to be able to just look at the screen, and everybody can look at the screen and see the chat on the screen. I can get the box to work. The chat just doesn't show up in it. So I watched a couple of YouTube videos trying to figure it out, and I still haven't figured it out. But hopefully one day I'll get it working. Anyway, how was everybody's week? I can't believe this week is gone already. So anyway, the first topic we're going to be talking about is the mom in Ohio that got arrested for not wearing a mask. Pretty unbelievable if you ask me. And then second, we're going to be talking about, hey, Detox D, what is going up, brother? Good to see you. Our second topic for the show is going to be stimulus checks, which was originally going to be from Trav Man. He suggested this because I guess he's really tuned into the next stimulus check. So we're going to be talking about that. We talked about it a little bit on Wednesday's show. And it was going to be the main topic today, but then the Ohio mom ended up getting arrested. And then we're going to be rehashing from a couple of episodes ago when we were talking about Joe Rogan and his Spotify deal. Evidently, the employees of Spotify are the SGW employees of Spotify are putting their foot down. So we're going to talk about that a little bit as well. But first, let's get the show started with the Ohio mom. And she was at a local football game. I believe her name was Amanda Chris or something like that. I read it. I wrote it down. I forgot what her name was. But she goes to a high school football game. The local resource officers, if you don't know, a lot of these schools nowadays have police officers in them, and they call them a resource officer. And he approached her and asked her to, she needed to be wearing a mask per, I guess, the school mandate and the local ordinance mandate. And she basically just refused. And she was ended up actually being tased and arrested for not complying and refusing to wear a mask. And my question is that actually a law? It's a city ordinance, but is it a law? I know we don't have any lawyers in the room, but if it's not the law, and this is a slippery slope that we're going down with these kind of dystopian rules that we're setting forth because of the coronavirus. If it's not a law, you can't arrest somebody if it's not an actual law. You can't arrest somebody for breaking a city ordinance. That's not the law. And I'm not a lawyer, so I'm just giving my opinion on it. But, I know my rights. And a city ordinance of a mask, now they can remove her. They can tell her she has to leave, and that's what they did. And, we're living in weird times. I say on one part of me says, she should have just complied. She should have just left, which is what they asked her to do. They told her if she was not going to wear a mask, then she had to leave. And she refused to do that as well. And if it was her child's game, I totally understand that. Can't get comfortable. I totally understand that. I mean, it's her child's football game. There's a lot of people that are just not going to wear a mask. And then you have this whole, you have a lot of people that are scared. And so you have to understand that aspect of it as well. Now, here in California, because it's so Nazi mask, I always wear a mask usually when I go into a place of business. Now, I have not been wearing a mask here in the building. I did the first week or so I was in the building because there are signs saying you have to wear a mask. But then I got into the building and nobody else hardly was wearing a mask. So I stopped wearing a mask as well. And so I don't here in the building. But anytime I go into any public place here in California, in Southern California, I put a mask on as I enter the business. Just out of courtesy for everyone else around me, especially if there's older people in there. I've already had the coronavirus, so I'm not worried about it. That's one great thing about having it. They say you can get it again, or you could possibly have it again. There's no conclusive study that says you can't get it again. I've had it. I'm not worried about it. If I were to get it again, I've been through it. Yeah, it does suck. It is a major suck. But I just don't feel like I'll get it again. But then I never felt like I would get it to begin with, and I damn sure got it. So, it is what it is. But Matilda says, I don't know for sure, but I think you can be arrested for trespassing if you refuse to leave. Yeah, that's exactly what they do. That's what they do, Matilda, is... even though there's a mask ordinance, but it's not the law, to be able to arrest you, all they do is just, they arrest you for disturbing the peace or disorderly conduct or trespassing, or, they basically make up some other kind of, they arrest you. It's like when they pull you over and they pull you over for something that you didn't actually do. They just make something else up. So that's exactly what they do here. But then you have to understand as well is that's exactly what is going on in this country right now is people are at odds and at war with the police, and these kind of things doesn't make the police look any better in my eyes. It's it is what it is, but that's when clear heads have to prevail. If she was closer, if she was within 6 foot of other people or bothering other people, it's understandable. Put her up, tell her to move somewhere where she's not. If you look, she's not around anybody. She's at an outside event. So, that's my biggest problem with this whole thing is we're living in this strange time where people are attacking people in their cars. They're burning, setting fires, burning stuff, breaking into businesses, looting businesses, rioting in the streets, which is absolutely 100% breaking the law. And the law is standing down, letting them do this. But then you have, on the other hand, just a lady not wearing a mask, and she gets in trouble for not wearing a mask. It all doesn't seem to... It doesn't add up for me. I don't know if it does for you guys. It just doesn't. It does not add up for me. What is going on here? I turned that chop box off and it's still showing up. So weird. Sorry about that. I got thrown off because I'm trying to remove this dark shaded area on the side there, that big square. But yeah, so that's that's the problem I have with it is you have people that are blatantly breaking the law, attacking people in their cars. I posted a video on my Facebook the other day of these Antifa members attacking somebody in their car, breaking the windows. Their dog was going crazy. These people get away scot-free. The police don't even look into this. But God forbid you go to a high school football game and you don't wear a mask, you're going to jail. There's no pass and go, collecting $200. It's jail for you, which it's, like I said, it's a slippery slope. I just don't get it. It's very, very weird times that we're living in. Anyway, we got 6 concurrent viewers. We have, let's see how many. We have 1 like. If you guys don't forget to hit that like button, I appreciate it. I want to thank you guys really quick. I got my YouTube paycheck the other day on the 21st. It automatically deposits into my account. And I just wanted to thank all of you guys because I know like Matilda, Travman, Random Nomad, they all donate actually to the channel. But I just wanted to let all of you guys know that just watching this show contributes. And if you contribute by just watching the show, then I'll end up getting a YouTube check. It's not a lot of money, but every little bit these days helps. So I wanted to thank you guys for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. Matilda says, I can't understand the taser use at all. Yeah, I don't either. I don't know, man. It's just a weird, that's a weird, I don't know. It just, the whole thing bothers me to no end. That they tased her and, arrested her. I mean, just making her leave, I can understand that. Golly, Travman, look at that. And Travman hits me with a $5 super chat. Thank you, brother. I really appreciate it. I say, make her leave. You could actually, I actually say you could forcefully have another officer, they can get more officers. A police resource officer can get more officers. I say, make her leave, go ahead, make her leave. But I just don't see tasing someone and arresting them for refusing to wear a mask. It may just be me, but I just don't, that just does not set well with me at all. I mean, at all. Yeah, I totally agree with you, Trav, man. This is exactly what I was saying. I don't like where this country is going and the world. Yeah, I do. It's a bizarre, I keep saying this. I'm like a parrot repeating myself, but it's a bizarre world that we're living in these days where, again, you have people blatantly disregarding the law at the most extreme measures by burning and looting and attacking people. We're living in a time where, and this has only been since the coronavirus started, since COVID, but we are now living in a time, and we have the whole anti-police movement since George Floyd, but we're living in a time now where you have on the left the criminal aspect. The actual criminals are now being portrayed as the innocent, and the innocent are now being portrayed as the criminals. Stuff that is actually really criminal crimes, like breaking and entering, setting fires, burning and looting, attacking people, attacking innocent people. Those people are commended. Hey, do your thing. Power to the people. And then people that go to a sporting event without a mask on are being arrested, tased and arrested and drugged to jail like the criminals. Travman says, so much stuff against my religion where God gave me all seed-bearing plants and herbs to use in government control. It's too much. Yes, I completely agree. And then, but the funny thing is on one hand, you have this whole movement going on, this whole anti-police movement going on, and then you have people like me who are trying to back the police, trying to be on the police's side, and then you have something like this. It's a little much. It's a little too much. I finally got that box off. It was driving me crazy. That chat box. Finally, I got it turned off. Yeah. So, it is what it is, but I just don't understand where do we go from here? I mean, where are we? If this is where we are now, where are we in a couple more years? Because if you're having blatant disregard for the law with the looting and rioting, but then not wearing a mask is a jailable offense, I don't know. I'm confused about it. I don't know. I don't know. It's like I said, at one point it would have been easier for her just to comply. But the problem with that is, sometimes you have to stand your ground. And if you're in the right and they're in the wrong, then, why do you have to comply? But that's where we've gotten. I mean, it's gotten to the point where, you have to stand your ground to a certain extent. And that's what that mother did. So for that, I mean, it sucks to get tased and go to jail, but on one side, I commend her for, standing her ground, because if somebody doesn't, then all of us lose our rights. You have to have somebody stand up for your rights. And if nobody stands up for your rights, then you're going to lose them. And when they can mandate you can't attend your child's football or your child's football sporting event, high school sporting event, because you refuse to wear a mask. Hey, Amy Preston, good to see you. Hey, I'm running late too, Amy. Don't worry about it. Better late than never, yes. Great to see you, Amy Preston. Thank you so much for showing up. Matilda says, I'm definitely pro-police, but not when their actions don't warrant my support. That is the best statement right there, Matilda. You nailed it. I'm definitely pro-police, but, at times you can't, in something like that, you just can't support it. You can't support what they're doing. It's just the wrong decision. That's the wrong decision to do. I mean, at worst off, what you do is you call for backup. If you're a police officer, you call for backup, you get more officers, and you just have to, unfortunately, like the doctor that got drug off the plane, you have to physically remove somebody if they refuse to leave. And if they're not going to cooperate. So I don't know. You have a lawsuit there. So I don't know. It's a slippery slope any way you go about it. It's a really slippery slope. And then I wanted to talk a little bit. How is everybody doing? Like I said, I just got my YouTube pay on the 21st. We get paid once a month by YouTube on the 21st of every month. But I just wonder, because I was figuring up with the price of things going up, Matilda says, absolutely, I can't wrap my brain around what was going through that cop's mind when he arrested him. Exactly. If you're a police officer, at one point, you have to put your pride aside, and you have to do what is right, not what your ego tells you to do. That is why you wear that badge and gun, is because you're supposed to be a bigger person and be able to take the high road. And that statement I just said needs to be taught at every police academy, because unfortunately we have too many cops that were the kids that were picked on in high school, or just walk around with a superiority complex. They actually have a problem. They're mentally deficient when it comes to their ego, and their ego rules everything that they do. And that is the problem with police. Police need to be able to learn that they are the law. And another problem is it's not all the police. It's us raising our kids, because we are not raising our kids anymore to respect authority. I was raised where you didn't talk back to your teacher. If I got in trouble at school and got paddled back in the day, we used to get paddled. A lot of us probably remember that. In Texas, we got they'd tell you to go to the hall and they'd hit you with a board. You got a paddling is what it was called. And if I got a paddling at school, I got a whipping, what we called a whooping in Texas, when I got home. Because my dad raised me to respect authority. And unfortunately, it's my generation's fault. As much as I slam millennials, it's Gen Z, Gen X, it's Gen X, my generation's fault, because we raised the trophy generation, the participation trophy generation. That was all Gen X. That was all my generation that came up with that BS. And I saw a meme yesterday or today on Facebook. It was yesterday on Facebook, I believe. And it was something like, can we go back to the whipping generation, because the participation trophy generation is not making it, because every generation is deteriorating when it comes to, just law and order. It seems like every generation, and the Gen X generation is just so spoiled, and it's Generation X's fault for spoiling them, for giving them participation trophies. I was so against that when my kids were playing sports. I had my youngest son I was assistant coach on a basketball team for the church. And I played high school football in Texas, and I'm very competitive. Anybody that knows me, my ex-wife, my stepsister would tell you I'm not as bad as I used to be, but I'm super competitive. I don't take competition lightly, and I play to win. I don't care, bones get broken, whatever. When we're playing against each other, I play to win, and that's all that matters to me is winning. There's winning and losing, and I was raised where second place is the first place loser, so you play to win. And when my youngest son wanted to play basketball when he was, he was probably 7 or 8, maybe 9 years old. And he signed up for the church basketball team because there wasn't any basketball in school for them at that age in Texas. They could play pee-wee football, but there really wasn't any basketball. Where I grew up in Texas, we had what was called little dribblers that you could play from like kindergarten on up. But anyway, so I get my son signed up with a church basketball team because he wants to play basketball, and the coach is horrific. The coach is one of these church people that there's nothing wrong with these church people, but he's one of these church people that's just a church guy. He doesn't know anything about basketball. And the churches are playing other churches. So you would think if the guy's going to volunteer to be the basketball coach, he would actually know something about basketball. And the first time I went to watch the practice, I watched the coach try to shoot a shot, and he completely missed the rim and the backboard and everything. And he had no form or technique on shooting a basketball because he didn't even know what he was doing. So right away, I was like, oh boy, that's not good. But I didn't say anything about it. I mean, it's just a church. It's just a church basketball, right? And I can shoot, my record free shot, I think 21 or 22, I think it's 21 free shots in a row. I've made 21 free shots in a row from the free throw line. So I can play some basketball. And I played basketball from the time in little dribblers all the way up to, high school. So I can shoot some hoop. I can ball. And I'm watching this coach, and everything he's doing is what he's read. He doesn't understand the post position. He doesn't really understand it. And the first time we play so I'm thinking, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. It's okay. It's church. It's a church team. Yeah. So what? Nobody, they don't take it seriously. It's just, kids playing, throwing the ball around. So the first game that we have, so he's not even preparing these kids. These kids are basically just running around, throwing the ball at each other, throwing, trying to make standing under the goal, trying to make a basket. And the first time we play a team, another church, they're a team. They got two young guys, two young fathers who are the coaches, and they know what the hell they're doing, and they just mopped the floor with us. And it was embarrassing. It was literally embarrassing. So I guess my son started talking to some of the other kids, and then so the other kids went to the coach and said, you should let Dustin's dad help you coach the team. So the church guy who had no ego, which I did like about him, he had no ego about the whole thing. He's like, hey, he goes, the kids said that you can kind of play basketball. Would you like to help as assistant coach? I need an assistant coach. So I signed on to help him coach the basketball team. And I got those kids whipped up and got them really playing basketball. And within a very short amount of time, we were playing basketball, and we weren't winning any games. But then we came against a church that we were pretty evenly matched against, and I thought we could beat them. And we start playing, and we get up. I think we were up by probably 8, maybe 12 points. And we had 4 or 5 kids on our team that I knew those kids. They were my son's friends. So I had taught all of them how to play basketball because we had all played basketball at my house in the driveway. So those kids pretty much already knew me and knew how to play basketball. But there was a whole bunch of kids on the team that had never played basketball before. So we only had 4 or 5 kids, maybe 3 or 4 kids, Andrew Gomez, Dustin, my son, and there were a couple more. I think we had 4 kids that actually knew how to play. And they were the best players on our team. And then we had a whole bunch of players that the parents had never put their kids in any kind of sporting event, so they didn't know how to dribble. They didn't know how to do anything. So as soon as you gave one of them the ball, they'd double dribble and we'd have to get the ball away. So this church, I felt like we could win this game. So I pumped the boys up all week, the boys that I knew. I'm like, we're going to win this game. Mark my words, we're going to win. We're going to keep you guys in the game, and we're going to win the game. So we start playing this game, and we haven't won a game yet. We're like 0-3, 0-4. We haven't won a game against any church yet. And we get in this game, and we start lighting them up. We get out to like a 20-point lead. Then they cut it down to like a 12-point lead because as we got up, I was still assistant coach. The head coach, who didn't know what he was doing, he would take all of our kids out, all of the good kids that I had got in, that I'd put in positions. He would take them out and stick, his son and other kids that did not know how to play in the game. And so when we were up by 20 points, I had no problem with that. But the problem is he would do that. They would continuously turn the ball over, and then the score would get closer and closer and closer. And then it'd get down to like, okay, now we're 6 points ahead. Okay, then he would put my kids back in, my group of kids back in to get the game going again. And by the end of the last half of the game, we were up about 12 points. And I thought we were going to win the game, and he ends up again taking all of our kids out and putting in these 4 or 5 kids they just don't play ball. They don't even want to play, but their parents want them to play and signed them up. And so they go out there and basically throw the game. They just literally throw the game. And we lose. We end up losing by about 4 points or something like that, where we were mopping the floor with these kids. We could have won that game, but the coach basically threw the game, and that doesn't sit well with me. And then when we all I was livid, because if I would have been the head coach, I would have got those kids in one at a time. I wouldn't be taking all of the good players out, putting all the players in that don't know how to play. You rotate them out one by one, but because the head coach didn't know what the hell he was doing, I'm an assistant coach, so I don't really say anything to him. I'm just coaching the kids, and I'm not, he's the authority figure because he's the head coach, and I didn't want to step on his toes. But then after the game was over, he's giving these kids a pep talk, or he's giving them, the little talk about, oh, guys, we played good. And then he come up with a line about, he said something about, you're going to come up in life against other teams that are just better than you are. And, you just have to accept those facts. And when he said that, my wife the whole time was actually squeezing my hand. She was squeezing my hand because she knew that I was ready to come out of my skin. And when he said that, I literally lost it. And I said, look, man, I said, the only reason we lost that game is because you put all the kids in that suck. And what you don't understand is we're in a circle with all of the parents, not just a few of the kids, all the parents and the kids. And that's exactly my exact words. I didn't even know where I was. I was so mad. I said, you put all the kids in that suck. That's why we lost. We had this game won. And everybody just gasped, because all these parents, you had a bunch of these parents that are church parents that are, they don't care anything about sports. They just want their kids to get a participation trophy, and they want their kids to just be participating because, they need to run up and down the court and get some exercise. Those type of parents. Then you had some parents like me. You had 3 or 4 dads that were just disgusted with the whole thing. You know what I mean? And they're like spitting and just, and spitting on the ground, and they're just annoyed with the whole thing. But you have to instill in kids a winning spirit. And if you treat these kids with kid gloves, you end up with what we have today in this generation of millennials that go all the way up to kids that are 33, 34 years old, and they can't even take care of themselves, or they can barely take care of themselves. And it's my generation. It was all those other parents. And even the kids, like, I quit. I was like, this is my last game. I can't do it. If you're not going to play to win, when we have the game won, if you're going to throw the game away, I can't do this. I can't do it. Let's get back in the room. Let's see. Travman says the chip that goes in between the thumb and the forefinger combined with the new chip that Tesla wants to put in your head, in your skull, connecting to your brain and to your smartphone. Check that one. Yeah, I've heard about that. Elon Musk talked about that when he was on the Joe Rogan podcast, Travman. And Joe had another guest on there on his podcast a couple of days ago that she has a book about it. The name of her book is Sex, Robots, and Vegan Meat, I believe. It's something that's not the complete title, but the main thing of the title is Sex, Robots, and Vegan Meat, and it's talking about where we're going as a species. Tradman says, "Yep, there's a live video there's a live video and a video on YouTube explaining everything about it." Yeah. It's it's funny because I had a friend of mine that in Texas that I used to think was pretty loony toony because he was a big conspiracy theorist. And I can be, somewhat of a conspiracy theorist, but he was a little bit more further out there than I am. And he was convinced, he was all into the aliens, and he was always talking about the grays and the alien grays. And this was probably about 96, 97. And he would, when we were talking about aliens, I'm like, well, where do you think they come from? One night we were just talking. We were at work. He worked with me at Embassy Suites at Love Field there in Dallas. And we were evening shift building engineers. And one evening we were in the engineering office and said something. He was talking about it. And I said, well, where do you think they come from? And he goes, Earth. I said, what? I said, what? Or I said, what planet? I said, they're not from Mars. He goes, I said, why do you think they travel here? And why do you think they would be watching us? I mean, what's your theory on that? And he goes, Earth. And I wasn't expecting that answer, so it just completely threw me off for a second. And I'm like, well, Earth? I was like, well, what is it? I said, well, what do you mean by that? What does that mean? He goes, the aliens, and he really believed this. I mean, sorry guys, I'm opening my Monster. He really did believe this wholeheartedly. And it was his own theory. But now I kind of look back on where we're going as far as technology-wise, and with what Tradman was saying about Elon Musk's new thing that he's working where they wire your brain to your smartphone so you can control your smartphone without your fingers by just thinking. If this stuff ever actually takes off, and if you read this, or if you listen to Joe Rogan's podcast with the sex robots and vegan meat lady, my throat was getting really dry. I don't want to choke again. If you watch that podcast and you think about it, it's kind of crazy because he thought these alien grays, my friend Bill, literally thought these alien grays were us. If you ever seen Escape from Planet of the Apes, is that what it's called? Back in like the 70s, there's an old movie. I think it was called Escape from the Planet of the Apes or something like that. And basically, if I remember right, these astronauts take off from Earth in a spaceship, in a rocket, like an Apollo rocket, and they take off, and they get stuck out in space, and then they come down, and then they get back to Earth, and it's a bunch of apes. Everybody's apes. The planet's all apes, and they think they're on another planet. And then if you haven't seen the movie, I'm giving it all away. But at the very end of the movie, they think they're on a whole other planet. They think they've landed on a different planet. And then at the end of the movie, they're walking down this beach, and there's the part of the Statue of Liberty. The head and the shoulders are sticking up out of the beach. So what had happened was something had happened and time had went forward, and they had actually landed back on planet Earth. And so what my friend Bill thought is he thought that these alien grays, he thinks they're humans, and they're coming in from the future. He thinks that we have progressed to a point, and we have learned time travel, and he doesn't think these are aliens coming here from another planet to visit us. He thinks it's us popping back in from the future to see what's going on. I don't know. Pretty interesting stuff. Still a little bit far out there for me, but if you look at where we're going with everything technology-wise, and with how, with the thing that really brought this back for me is this whole gender thing that we have going on now, with all the genders and the gender neutrality. Like, there's no gender. If that's where these younger generations are pushing. And then the scariest thing about all of this really is if you think about it, if you really think about it, like, we can fight the good fight, being conservatives. But the thing about it is we're going to die off. We're the older generation. So you got to look at the younger generation and what they really want, because that's what they're going to do, because they're in charge of the future. So if you look at the future for America, it's not looking very good, because these millennials are going to be in charge here in the next 15 to 20 years. They're going to be the ones that are setting all of the policies and making all the rules. And with the way they run their own lives, it's a scary thought about where we're going. For those of you that are friends with me on Facebook, I literally just posted, I didn't have a lot of time, but I just went through and posted a video from John Stossel. If you don't know who John Stossel is, he used to be like on NBC News, I believe, but he's a libertarian like I am. And what I love about John Stossel, you should subscribe to him on YouTube. His YouTube channel is John Stossel, and he has a Facebook page, just John Stossel. It's JOHN STOSSEL. He gives a real take on the reality of things. So he made a video with this guy who's an environmentalist. He's a climate change expert that was on the cover of Time magazine, and he says that the reason California is having all these crazy fires is because freaking radical-ass progressive Californians aren't letting fires do what they used to do, which is burn off dead wood, and nobody's clearing brush. I grew up in Texas, man. People clean their property up like, springtime, or the fall. They clean all the dead wood and they get rid of it, and they do brush burns, and they clear and rake the ground. I remember Californians like, oh my God, when Trump said something about raking the forest, Californians thought that was the funniest thing ever. They never heard anything so funny. Did you hear what Trump said? He said, rake the forest. Yeah, you dumbasses, you rake the forest. You clean up dead wood, because if you don't, it's kindling. And if there's a fire, it's going to spread like crazy. And that is what's going on in California. In this video, this gentleman actually talks about how the Native Americans used to set fires and just let it burn as far as it would burn. So all of this dead wood would get burned off. Let's get back into chat, see what you guys have to say. Trapman says they're talking about using the probes in your brain with current to take and stop pain, sensors in the body, and other back injury adjustments with it. Matilda says that movie is decades old. Don't think you're going to spoil it for anyone. Thank you, Matilda. Showing my age, right? Planet of the Apes. Escape from Planet of the Apes. Was it just Planet? It was just Planet of the Apes, wasn't it? It wasn't Escape from Planet of the Apes. I don't know where I got that. It's just Planet of the Apes. They did a remake of it like in 2004 or something like that, and I watched it, and it was horrible. Because they did all the monkeys were CGI, and the CGI wasn't very good. Yeah, it was really bad. Amy Preston says one of the vaccine volunteers said he can't feel his soul anymore. Matilda says that's why I want to be on a big piece of land away from everyone. Yep. I think a lot of people are looking at that. I'm kind of not talking about the nomadic lifestyle anymore, but, I really should, because we were the ones that were in the right place. I got out of my house 4 years ago. I don't have that bill. I don't have that rent. And I minimalized everything, my life. The most expensive, I was thinking about my bills the other day, though, but I'm spending, I don't know. It just sounds like a lot of money to me. For me, I was looking at my budget, and I'm the world's worst when it comes to managing money. I really am. But I was looking at my budget the other day, and I am spending $300 to $400 a month on food. And that just sounds like a lot for one person. So I start thinking to myself, like, God, a family of 4, what are they spending on food? Like $1,400 a month? Because I'm just one guy, and $300 to $400 a month sounds like a lot of money. But then if you stop and do it this way, which is the way I had to break it down, which sounds like I'm living on ramen noodles, because I broke it down, and I'm spending about $10 to $12 a day on food, which is not very much. Yeah, because I eat out a lot, Random Nomad. Because my Snap-on truck doesn't have a stove in it, and I have like a little propane stove. So, from time to time, I'll cook some ramen noodles and stuff like that. Now, I still have Bertha, but I don't really use Bertha anymore. But when I had Bertha, I would cook like sausage and potato burritos and stuff like that. Stuff that I know how to cook. That's one of my biggest not transgression, but my biggest flaws, I guess, is because I was raised, old school, where my dad, the woman stays home and takes care of the kids and cooks the dinner and cooks supper and has supper on the table, and the man goes out and work. And so I literally hate cooking. I'm not good at cooking or cleaning. Actually, it's not the cooking that I really don't mind the cooking so much, but it's the cleaning up after you cook. I hate the cleanup. Random Nomad says, yeah, that's much tough. No Coleman camp. Yeah, I have a Coleman camping stove. Exactly what I have. Yes, Bertha has an oven, but I'm not staying in Bertha anymore. She's parked over here on the street, but I stay in the Snap-on truck. Yeah, I'm a typical bachelor, Matilda. Typical bachelor. Random Gnome says, sound like me, but I can kind of cook a lot of stuff. I can cook a steak. I can cook stuff. It's just I just don't find any enjoyment in it. I would rather, I was running late today on everything, and it was 15 minutes till 7. I had to do the show. I ended up thinking to myself, okay, the little Asian place right here closes at 7 p.m. So if I did the show, then I would miss getting they have a veggie bowl, which if you don't know what an Asian veggie bowl is, it's like a chicken teriyaki, and then they have a chicken beef. They have a beef and chicken teriyaki bowl that's got steamed rice and steamed vegetables. So I'll get one of those. It's like $6. And that's the other thing is, you go to the grocery store. I go to the grocery store and I just get, basically snack stuff, like some Doritos, and, I'll get some pretzels with peanut butter and just some stuff to snack on. Like if I'm hungry or something, I don't want to go get something to eat, or if it's late at night, and it'll be $80 just for snacks. So I look at families, and I wonder how they're doing these days with the price of everything. Because I can tell you, if I could not eat, I could save a lot of money. Matilda says it's boring to cook for just one, or at least that's my excuse. Yeah, it is, Matilda. I mean, it's just, you're just making food for yourself. If you're making I think if you're doing it for a family where everybody gets to sit down together and, enjoy a meal. But I will tell you, people don't realize this. I was married for 18 years. And, when I was married for that long, when you've been married that long, you try not to, but you end up very much taking your spouse for granted. And I look back on what kind of husband I was, because I've been divorced now since 2006. But I look back on what a crappy husband I was. You know what I mean? I would come in and I would just act like it was just my wife's duty to do her duty. You know what I mean? And she still does it because she was raised that way. She's Hispanic, and she was raised that, her mother raised her to cook and, that kind of thing. So I would come in and my wife would say, what do you want for dinner? What do you want to eat? And I'd be like, I don't know, whatever, cook whatever you want, I don't care. And, and so she would make a whole meal, but she would cook a full meal for me and the 2 kids 3 or 4 times a week. After she worked all day. And I never, because I was raised that way, and her and I had been together since we were 17 years old. So because I was raised that way, I never understood or appreciated it. I should call her one of these days and just tell her, you know what, you were a really good wife. And I never appreciated the things that you did until I became a bachelor. And then I look back on, it's not that big a deal just to go out and buy a rice bowl. But, I haven't, being a bachelor, and in these COVID times, I haven't had a set down meal, like you really cook on a stove. I never get that anymore. And sometimes I do miss it. And I think as husbands, we don't do our due diligence. Sometimes when you have a good wife that actually cooks, and takes care of the family. The funny thing is my ex-wife is she's actually remarried and to a great guy. It's funny, when I go to Dallas, I will go by there. I even sleep in my old house. I've slept in my oldest son's room. They offer me his room. Like if I'm staying in Dallas, I'll go by there and stay at my old house. And people think that's weird and crazy. And when I was working for John Travolta, it was funny because I don't talk about this much, but when I was working for John Travolta, as a treat for my ex-wife and her fiance at the time, John and I actually took them out to dinner when we were both in Dallas. John was there in Dallas doing his private jet training. Is where he does it in Dallas. So we actually took them out to eat and stuff. But I actually still talk to my ex-wife all the time, and we're still very good friends. And she's remarried to a great guy. And the funny thing is one of the last times I was through Dallas and I was there, they had invited me over and I was to stay, and my wife cooked for all of us, and it was delicious. Or my ex-wife, I should say, cooked for all of us, and it was delicious. Travman says, I just had a bonfire burning on a bunch of brush from the yard and grilled over hickory and hard oak. RR and coals, steak, bacon wrapped pork, baked potatoes, grilled onions, green peppers, and mushrooms. Man, Travman, that sounds amazing. Yeah. One of the thing about one of the problems here with Californians is you have this whole tree hugger mentality. And they don't understand that you need to clear land. They don't get this. You have to clear. It's common. It should be common sense. You have to clear dead brush. If you don't clear dead brush and there's a fire, it's going to catch your house on fire. So like in Texas where I grew up, it was a big thing for people to, once or twice a year to just get out there and start trimming the trees, trimming all the dead branches off the trees and just clearing and cleaning up the property. Clearing up any overgrowth, mowing things down, chopping down bushes, or not chopping them down, but like, chopping or clearing them and shaping them. And it's things that they just think everything just grows wild in California and you just let it grow. Well, you can do that, but you're going to have a tremendous fires because of that. But if you're friends with me on Facebook, be sure to go watch that John Stossel video, because it's talking about all of these California politicians and all these politicians pushing global warming and climate change because of these California fires, and that it has nothing to do really with global warming and the climate change. It's got everything to do with Californians letting, everything just go. And then, it's 10, 20 years of overgrowth, and then there's a fire and everything goes up like kindling. Matilda says, do it, Rav, she'll love it. Yeah, she possibly, I don't know if she'd love it, but she'd probably be embarrassed if I called her and said, hey, you're a really good cook. I'm sorry I never told you I never really thanked you enough for all this cooking you did. Matilda says, wives too, we can all take each other for granted. Yeah, unfortunately, that's one of the things about being in a long-term relationship. At some point, you just kind of start taking people for granted, each other for granted, because you see each other on such a regular daily basis. Matilda says, oh, Random Nomad, I'm jealous. Yeah, that sounded really good, Random Nomad. I'm jealous as well. Trapman says, yep, I was out there with my machete clearing brush too. Yeah, that's what you got to do. Matilda, California has been in a drought state for so long that it compounds the problem for sure. But Matilda, I don't know if you know this, that's an actual California misconception. If you don't know this, California's drought ended in 2017 or 2018. As a matter of fact, in 2018 and 2019, California had record years of rainfall. And when you have record years of rainfall, it also that impacts the snowpack. So like the Sierra Nevadas and everything had record snowpack for those years. People don't realize this because for so long, from 2006, when I moved to California right after my divorce, from 2006 until probably 2017, all you saw about California was them talking about the drought and the California drought, and that you needed to conserve water. Everybody needed to conserve water. Like I remember even like when I was out in the desert in 2014 in Joshua Tree, I went to visit Palm Springs, and Palm Springs has these beautiful fountains on the downtown street, and they'd turned all of their fountains off because everybody was in this water conservation because everybody was scared there was a water shortage in California, and they've never turned those fountains back on in Palm Springs. And they were putting in a new golf course. They were getting ready to break land on this new golf course, and it got scrapped because golf courses take so much water out in the desert to keep those golf courses green. So they scrapped this big extravagant golf course that was going to be built. They actually they scrapped it to put in like a natural wetland environment or something like that, park. But so we are having these bigger fires, but the last couple of years, California has had a record rainfall, and that's why the drought has been over. But the problem is when you get record rainfall, you get even more growth. So then when it does heat up, and a lot of this stuff, because of all the rain, it grows more than it usually even grows, you get even more overgrowth. So that's one thing I didn't understand, because I didn't understand like in California, because like in Texas where I grew up, like we would have fires. You could have grass fires. Basically what we had is grass fires because there's no trees like in West Texas. So you'd get these big grass fires. But if we had record rain in these years, we wouldn't have any grass fires because it rained. The soil was moist, or everything was green, so we didn't really have to worry about these grass fires. But in California, because it's so dry in Southern California, that if it rains a lot, it even causes more fires because you have even more dried out brush once the summer does start. And it's already 58 minutes into this, and I've been rambling the whole time. If you haven't heard, I wanted to jump back into a couple of podcasts ago about Joe Rogan. So the Spotify employees, because Joe Rogan, the Spotify CEO, said that they were just going to run the show, let Joe run his show like he's always run it. The Spotify employees went to the CEO and said if they don't edit the show and start censoring Joe Rogan, that they were going to go on strike. And it was so funny because this girl on Twitter, or somebody, I just saw, I think Joe Rogan retweeted it. This girl goes, "Oh, so the Spotify employees are the SJW Spotify employees are throwing a fit because they won't, the CEO is saying they won't censor Joe Rogan's show, so they're throwing a fit about it, and they say they're going to go on strike." What a perfect way to understand and see exactly which employees you need to fire. So this goes out to the CEO of Spotify, which is not going to watch this, but if it ever gets around to him, I'm talking to you, buddy. Fire those employees. Get rid of them. They're the problem. Just get rid of them. I don't care who they are. I don't care if they're in charge of marketing. I don't care if they're in charge of development. They need to go. That's a big, I was listening to this thing the other day where this person was talking about we're living in a time where the minority of everyone gets their way. And that's the biggest problem there is. The majority has always ruled. We need to go back to the majority. The majority like Joe Rogan's show exactly the way it is. So if you have a few employees at Spotify that are throwing a fit about Joe Rogan's podcast not being censored, get rid of them. Fire them. Tell them to hit the street. Anyway, guys, that's an hour. Man, this hour goes so fast, doesn't it, guys? Detox D, what about the LA River? Yeah, the LA River they have it dammed up. It's always dry. It's just basically the LA River Detox D is basically just a runoff. It's a spillway. People don't understand that. It's a spillway for when it does rain in LA. Yeah, it looks dry. But the deal is Detox D is all of the water lakes around. There's one that's... there used to be like a billboard in California. You'd see this billboard of like this lake where a lot of California's water comes from, Southern California. And I think the lake is, maybe it's in Nevada or Arizona. But anyway, this lake where all of our water comes from, one of the aquifers or whatever it is where our water comes from, they had this billboard and it would show like in 2005, the water levels like here, and in 2010 the water levels here. Like you could see so much more land because it basically they were telling you stop using so much water because our aquifer is going dry, our lake is going dry. That lake is full again. So these places where we get our water from in LA, they're full again. Yeah, Lake Mead, thank you. Which is Lake Mead? That's the Nevada lake, but that's for Las Vegas, right? Random Nomad. I don't think California gets their water from Lake Mead, do we? I don't know, but I know they do talk about Las Vegas is going to run out of water. They said that is inevitable. That the growth that's going on in Las Vegas can't be, because it's the desert and it can't be sustained. It can only be sustained for a certain amount of time, but like 2030, they're going to run out of water. They say that there's a possibility that Vegas, I think maybe it's the Colorado River, Joe Federico. That's a new name, dude. I don't think I've seen you before. Welcome. Matilda, good night, Amy Preston. Or Amy, are you out? Good night. Good night, everybody. That's going to do it for this show. I totally appreciate you guys showing up. Have an incredible, safe weekend. And we will see some of you beautiful people back here Monday evening at 7 p.m. for the next American Nomad podcast. Until then.
Thank you for listening to the American Nomad Podcast. Until next time, keep looking up because that's where it all is.